Hi, everybody. Happy middle of the week. As we go into Wednesday, I just wanted to review very quickly the content from yesterday about the Opium Wars. I gave you a written context on yesterday's lesson to read, so hopefully you did that. But I wanted to just quickly look at the Treaty of Nanjing, sometimes called Nanking, but basically the same word pronounced differently, that ended the Opium Wars, and kind of talk about very briefly how that set England up for an obvious advantage. So not only did they charge China $21 million, they opened up new trade ports. If you'll remember, China had what was called the tribute system. It was a very strict, it wasn't free trade. It wasn't this open trade. Everyone could come in and get anything anytime they wanted. They only had trade, they had like 1 or 2 trade ports open, I think, only 1 or 2 days a year. And if you're England, who really wants China's stuff, that's not great. So when England wins the Opium War, they open up all of these new trade ports. They allow British citizens to move into China and follow British laws, not Chinese laws. I don't think I wrote that on my notes from yesterday. But can you imagine that if we lost a war with Mexico, right, the United States? Hypothetically, let's use this as an example. If we lost a war with them and Mexico made a treaty that said any Mexican citizens could move anywhere in the United States and not have to follow United States laws, like that's a bold move, dare I say. It imposed pretty heavy taxes on China. It gave Hong Kong to the British in perpetuity, which means literally forever. And it was only, I think, couple of decades ago that Hong Kong was released by the British. I want to say in the 90s. I'll try to look it up discreetly while I talk. And so that's also a bold move, dare I say. I didn't think this through. I'm not set up for this, guys. Okay, I'm not one of those fancy high-tech late night shows. Okay, let's go, Stephanie. When was Hong Kong given back? Should have looked this up sooner. So there's that. 1997 is the answer. I thought it was in the 90s, but I wanted to make sure. That's crazy, right? And then lastly, British authorities were allowed to go in at any port all the time. Like they didn't colonize China, but like pretty much, right? And that's the difference between imperialism and colonization. It's like forcing your country's will on a region or a country, another country or a territory or something by use of military force and like pressure and like strength, right? Exerting your country's strength. So that's what happens as a result of the Opium Wars, which is a pretty big deal. The two things, if you'll notice on my notes, that did not happen was that Christian missionaries, like absolutely not allowed in the country, which is surprising to me because in Africa, that's such a big role of colonization are the Christian missionaries, but that's not the case in China. And then also opium is not allowed to be legalized. And just to clarify, remember Britain is pushing all of this opium on China, but it's really important to remember that like opium had been illegal in Britain for a very long time. So it's not like the British were like, cool, opium's fine. Like they were not about it in their own country, but then they were pushing it on China, which is obviously why China was so upset, tried to make it illegal, and then smuggling and turned into this full-blown war. So anyway, some of the overall takeaways are at the bottom of the notes. Check those out if you haven't already. I hope you guys enjoyed those videos. Today I'm going to have you read a couple of short articles on the fall of the Ottoman Empire. And I do not personally have a good base of knowledge for the fall of the Ottoman Empire, so I'm not going to give you any lecture points on it because there's nothing I can add that's more substantial than what you're going to read. And we already know some stuff about the Ottomans. If you have since forgotten, you can go back into your notes. We've watched 2 parts of a 3-part series if I'm not mistaken, on the Ottomans. They're a very long-standing empire. They're about to fall. They officially fall in World War I. They have since reinvented themselves as which country? Anybody? Yes, Turkey is what used to be the Ottoman Empire, more or less. Obviously, it's not as big, Turkey today, as the Ottoman Empire was at its height. But there's two short articles. One is from history.com and one is from National Geographic that I want you to read. This is all outlined on Planbook. And then I also want you to click a hyperlink of your choice from each article. So altogether you're reading 4 articles, 2 of my choice, the Nat Geo and then the history.com. And then within each one, the Nat Geo, the history.com, you're going to read a hyperlinked article of your choice, right? Like how, you guys know what I'm talking about, how they hyperlink content to like take you to another article. Your choice. It's 12:30 in the morning. I still haven't decided what I want you to do with those. I think I'm going to have you try to do a Flipgrid. I know Flipgrid's been kind of funky lately. I think that's what I want you guys to try to do. If it doesn't work, how about we do this? I'll do a Flipgrid as an option, or I'll let you just submit a kind of written reflection on the articles. And you can decide what works best, whichever you want to do, and that'll be all you do today. I'm going to stop talking now because this video is going to take like 12 hours to upload to my new YouTube channel. Subscribe in the link below. Just kidding, don't do that. Anyway, rambling. I'm going to go. It's late. I'm surrounded by sleeping dogs. They're everywhere. Oh, that's her head. My apologies. Whee! See you guys later.